Thank you for downloading episode 346 of Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. This week we have Bondi getting the nod, macing trans, Biden can't leave fast enough, the Laken Riley trial, Trump's hush money, Loeffler gets Aggie with it, Jaguar gets weird, and Bobby Jr. With me is my name's Dave Roberts. Get out of order. With me is my partner in this endeavor, Commissioner-elect Ken Pullen.
Freezing to death in Georgia. Good Lord, that cold front came in last week.
It did. I told you that I'm doing physical therapy. I've got, besides having my shoulders being destroyed, I've got a little tendonitis in my elbow. So you're trying to wear
something. That tennis you play.
Yeah. It's not even that hand. No, because as the most old man injury, I slept on it wrong, had it pinned under me, and gave myself a little tendonitis.
Ooh, that's ugly.
Stupid. But you have a prediction on what's going to happen on Saturday.
Oh, Lord. I was kind of joking, but Georgia Tech had a big win last week. I don't know if you saw that. They beat NC State at home. I think they were undefeated on the year at home. So this Friday, they go to Athens to play Georgia, the Bulldogs. So all Georgia's got to do is win, and they'll be in the college football playoffs starting in December. But, boy, Tech's playing good. This is going to be a good game this year.
Well, Florida has to pick up a win to be bowl eligible. And, look, we have so many bowls. I think you and I were talking, like, they're going to go to the Tidy Bowl.
Yeah, it's way too many.
I mean, nobody cares what plays on Wednesday, December 14th, at noon. No one's watching that game. There are like 4 people in the stands. Like, I understand it's a recruitment tool, but when they see teams like Georgia or Alabama, they're playing in front of a packed house of 100,000 people. Then you go to Florida's postseason game, there's like 12 people in the crowd, and 6 of them are the band.
It's almost like a reverse recruitment tool for if you're playing in a crap bowl game.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play in one of those bowl games. I think they got way too many, but I guess it's all about TV and money and sponsorships nowadays.
It is, but when with kids who are juniors and seniors opting out, if they're not in the playoff, they're opting out.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going to go get themselves hurt, go lose, tens of millions of dollars because they get hurt playing in a nothing bowl that nobody watches.
No, but Georgia have one of the hardest schedules this year, and they're probably going to tear Georgia Tech up at home, but we'll see. Tech's playing a lot better, and this is they're hot going into this game, so we'll see what happens. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Yeah, Tech did beat Miami.
That's a big one. Of course, Miami hadn't played anybody besides Florida, and Florida didn't feel. That this is not our year. Our only hope for being bowl eligible is the last game coming up, which is Florida State. And Florida State is just putrid, absolutely putrid.
I thought they beat Miami. Let me make sure. Yeah, they beat Miami 28-23. I kind of second guessed myself there for a minute.
So, Getz is out. Bondi is in.
How about that? So this is he's the former congressman from Florida. And I say former, he resigned his seat. Yeah, which was very interesting. I don't know if everybody knew this, but he won his election back in November, but he resigned from Congress this year. So he basically resigned for this year, not next year. So
right, he could
have went back in. He could have just said, "Hey, I've resigned from Congress, and now I'm going to start serving my official term in January." But as he announced that he was stepping down and taking his name out of consideration for the Attorney General, he also said he's not going to serve next year. So there will be a special election in Florida. And that's a solid red seat, so it'll be another Republican come in. But he's going to be out of elected office at that point.
Did we get trolled on this thing? It
no,
seemed like
no,
as soon as
I don't think so at all.
As soon as you and I were talking about Gates, whatever. As soon as and you're like, there's no way he gets confirmed.
I don't know.
There's just no way.
There's a lot of people out there saying Trump's playing 4D chess again, and this was all for some other reason, and Trump knew all this was going to happen. I don't believe any of that for a second. I think he
No, but
thought...
Bondi is so accomplished.
Yeah, but he could have nominated her the
and
first time. There was no reason he couldn't nominate her right away.
That's kind of where I'm going with it is you took out the male who is accused of being a philanderer and things. And like, honestly, I have no idea. I'm not defending him. I have no idea. But then you take a guy who hadn't tried many cases. I mean, he's a relatively young guy. And then you put this, you pick this woman who is
very accomplished,
very smart, very accomplished, really good looking. But when I say good looking, I'm not saying I have the hots for it. I'm saying she's well put together. She is. If you were to close your eyes and picture like what an attorney should look like, her suits are on point and all that stuff. So, but she's well put together, and the lefties are scared of her. PMSNBC had somebody on saying that you cannot go after her on her accomplishments.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. They said she's had a great record in Florida prosecuting like illegal aliens down there, and she's been, right there with Governor DeSantis. She's been a MAGA loyalist for quite a few years. I think she was Trump's attorney at some point. Yeah, I mean, she's done it all. She's very, very accomplished.
And that should be all it takes. That's it. It's not her political leanings or anything else. Of course, they're going to grill her, and she'll do fine. She's not going to be scared of a bunch of senators with shoe sizes with bigger numbers than their IQs. But yeah, they'll run her through it. They'll go into. I assume she's married. I have no idea. But go into her background, her family. They will dig for anything.
But how much can they go after the first female attorney general? I mean, I thought the left would actually be happy about this. If you look at Trump's cabinet too, he's got a very diverse cabinet. He's got quite a few women on it. He's got men all over the spectrum. I mean, it's a very, very diverse. It's more diverse than Biden's cabinet, I think. I mean, there's no trannies in the cabinet, but from a diversity standpoint.
Trump doesn't care what you're packing downstairs. He doesn't care if you're male or female. Doesn't care if you're black, white, anything in between. He doesn't care. What can you do for me? And people kind of lose sight of the fact that Trump was in business for so long. And in business, there are no black people. There are no white people. There are no Asians or anything. Everybody's green. It's whether they can make you money or spend money with you. Everybody's green. Trump doesn't give a damn. It's what can you do for me and my organization? He doesn't care.
That's true.
And that's the way business should be. I pull up to houses all the time with Biden or Harris signs out. And you know what I do? I go fix their air conditioner and go make my money and leave. Yeah,
Trump's very transactional in nature. He doesn't. There's no.
Stormy Daniels about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just. Trump's a populist, right? He puts people in positions of power that supported Trump, and that's what you saw with Gates, I think, a lot. And they still say he's going to find a non-confirmed position that doesn't have to get to the Senate for Gates.
I think that's probably very true.
And then there's talk of Gates running for governor down in Florida in a couple of years.
Not a chance in the world.
I mean, that's how you get Democrats elected, running people like Matt Gaetz. I mean, I think the dude's a creep. I mean, I know he's a love child of MAGA, but I think he's an absolute creep. I mean, if he slept with a 17-year-old, even if she was 18, I mean, it's just the kind of people that Trump's trying to surround himself with. The dude's an absolute creep. But hey, he was loyal to Trump, so he gets the nod. But I'm sure that'll.
And that's the thing is I've made it's a joke, but it's not. I would have nothing to do with a 27-year-old woman. Okay, one thing, but once that's done, what do you do? Talk about Teletubbies? What do you have in common with somebody? In my case, less than half my age.
Yeah, what do you have to do with a 17-year-old? That's just my daughter. So
yeah, what am I supposed to do? Sit down, help you with your math homework?
And Nat Gates is married now. I did realize that. I didn't know that before, but he is a
And,
married guy,
look,
so hopefully
I'm
he's
not,
moved on from the teenagers.
and I'm not saying that happened or didn't. I have no idea.
No, but where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, and I think this report will be released at some point, and they'll all of it will be out in the open. But there's a lot of eyewitness testimony and testimony from young girls. And again, if she's 17 or 18, is there really much of a difference? You still slept with a teenager. So there you go.
Yeah, the last time I did, I was a teenager.
I know exactly.
No, I don't know. But yes, creep's a good word for him. He does have that vibe. Like I said, I'm not going to say where there's smoke, there's fire, because I don't know, because it's such a horrific thing to be accused of, that if there's no solid evidence behind it, that's a pretty crappy thing to do to somebody's reputation.
Yep.
And again, I don't know if it happened. I don't know Matt Gates.
Yeah, I don't know either. But there's a lot of rumors out there.
Yeah, he didn't call me to talk about Florida football. That's I don't know him. I guess I try to see the best in people, no matter what side of the aisle they're on. That like you wouldn't do that, and then like you find out like, oh hell, you did.
I did think it was interesting. We can't go a show without mentioning Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I actually fully agree with her on this. She said if we're going to release this report on Gates, we need to release a report from D.C. on how many congressmen and senators are using taxpayer dollars to pay off interns up here when they have sexual relations with them. There's a whole fund set up in D.C. for that sort of stuff. We need to release all the political names on the Epstein client list. And if we're going to do this to Gates, we need to burn everything down. All the records need to be released. And look, I'm 100% for that. Like all of them need to be released.
Yeah, Teddy Kennedy put a car into a water hazard or something, a lake in Florida, and just left the chick to die. Letourneau, I think her name was. Yeah, and he got away with that. I don't know, man. I don't know if I would think that an attorney, and somebody with Gates's education would be smart enough to stay out of that one. Or does he think he's too smart, going, well, technically it's not illegal to sleep with a 17-year-old because she's above the age of consent, or whatever. But if you're going to be in politics, you also have to realize that that's creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's very creepy. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's very creepy.
All right, so Nancy Mace goes to war on men who dress like women.
She did. Nancy's a congressman from South Carolina. She was sexually assaulted years ago and raped. So she said that this new congressman from Delaware, I think it's in one of those little small states right there, is the first trans woman in Congress. So this is a guy, right, that is putting dresses on. And what Nancy Mace said is he needs to use the men's bathroom because he's got all the men equipment. And she doesn't feel safe if a man is using, it's not just a bathroom, but in Congress they have locker rooms, they've got a gym, they've got restrooms, and she was showers, all that stuff.
Because a lot of junior Congress
they
people
sleep on their office sometimes.
They stay there and they eat in the congressional cafeteria, and they shower at the gym and things like that. So yeah, if I don't think Nancy Mace at this point is staying in her office, sleeping on a cot like a lot of
she said she didn't want somebody coming in there with the men equipment.
See, bathrooms don't bother me as much as locker rooms.
Yeah, locker rooms and all the personal space. I mean, but it's personal space, right? A woman feels but safe in the restroom, locker rooms, and she didn't want a man coming in there with her.
Well, even with the Ally McBeal model, where everybody has their own stall. Again, there are creeps out there that want to go peek under stalls, but the vast majority no. What bothers you more is this woman with artificial tatas and a not so artificial wiener hopping in the shower with you and like, hey, can you hand me the soap?
Right.
Again, very disappointed in my guidance counselors from high school because I was never told that was an option. A good guy, yeah. But no, Nancy Mace is not wrong on this. And this comes as there's a lawsuit, and I can't remember which conference it's in, but these teams are suing the NCAA and their conference for allowing biological males to compete with them. So this is all happening within the same week. As of course Riley Gaines and all that stuff have been really out front of that issue, that you shouldn't be forced. And look, as many jokes as I make, I would not want to undress in a women's locker room. like no, I think I'm good. I'll just drive home sweaty. I'm fine. I'm good.
Yep. But yeah, Nancy Mace, she made a really big deal about this. The news, as usual, went after her and said, why is she being so mean to the trans community? And finally, and this may be with Trump winning an election, finally they are not backing down, which, before Republicans back down a lot of times on stuff like this, but she didn't back down. She said she was going to actually introduce legislation where no man can use a women's restroom in any federal building in the United States. So I think that's good too. We don't need this happening
there was
anywhere.
A resolution that she was putting out that would apply to Congress specifically. So that would not necessitate passing a law. If the resolution went,
it was just going to be in the House rules that get
right because they govern themselves.
Yep.
She's had some gaffes. Like going to the Baptist convention or whatever, talking about laying in bed with her
their
fiance.
Boyfriend. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, she's had some gaffes, but overall, I mean, I stand with her on this one because she's absolutely right. Because like we said, it's not just going into the bathroom, sitting down, and doing your business. It is walking around a locker room, getting into shower room and all that stuff that, everybody in Congress probably works out at the same time, 6:00 in the morning. And then, they have a chance to shower and clean up, grab breakfast. And then, they're at their desk by 9 or whatever. So it's not like it's going to be and you know what? Nancy should not have to hide. She shouldn't have to go, I'm going to go to the gym at midnight. That way there's no pervert. Nobody else is there. I could be there by myself. You shouldn't have to hide.
No.
And look, to the dude's favor, credit, he came out and said, I don't agree with it, but if those are the rules, I will abide by them.
Yeah, thank goodness. So, he definitely backed down, and it is a he. So it's just a guy that's dressed like a female. Good for him backing down.
I think he read the political tea leaves too, and realized
that's why Trump won. I mean, that was one of the reasons, right?
Like maybe wearing this in everybody's face, so to speak, is not the best thing for my movement. And that goes to so many things. If you just become so obnoxious that no one wants to be around you, you're not winning arguments. You're just being obnoxious.
Yep, exactly. And I think it was loud and clear that people are tired of this kind of stuff. And I also think people keep grouping the LGBs in with the Ts, and there needs to be a clear break and distinction between the two. It's men dressing like women is not the same as a sexual preference. Like two women dating or two men dating, or it's just not the same. It's totally different than a man dressing like a woman.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not just dressing like. That's a drag queen. This is someone who's attempting to live as a woman, which is a mental illness.
Yep. It's not just dressing up on the weekends.
Like you do?
Yeah, like I do.
Hey, you like to wear the tennis skirts out when you tee off on Saturday? Oh, you do have the legs for it. So you get a note here. Biden wants to start a war before he leaves.
Yeah, this was kind of weird news last week. So what did he do? He gave Ukraine permission to use these a different set of basically missile that they could attack Moscow with. I don't know if you saw too, Moscow bust in or flew in a bunch of troops from North Korea this week too. So the thought was, North Korea puts a couple 100,000 troops in Russia, And this was going to be a deterrent, I think, for those North Korean troops coming into Ukraine. But Biden basically said, you can use all these long-range missiles that you want now. And it sounds like as soon as we did, Ukraine shot some of these missiles off into Russia. And then last Friday, there was a strike on Ukraine using a newly developed hypersonic ballistic missile from Moscow. So it seems like we've had a little bit of escalation in this war. It's going on 3 years from now. It's crazy that it's been 3 years.
Putin did say something through Dmitry Peskov, his spokesman, is that he said Ukraine did not have the intelligence mechanisms in order to pick those targets out. So what that means is they're basically accusing the West, mostly the Americans and British, for selecting targets for them.
Yep.
Because they don't have the, obviously they can't put aircraft over Russia without getting shot down. Francis Gary Powers proved that for us, and they don't have the space program to have the targeting with, because it's not just Google Earth that's doing this, Google Maps. Like the software is very specific in targeting with these missiles and artillery. So Putin actually, I hate to take Putin's side, but he actually makes a valid point that there's no way they could have pulled this off on their own.
Yep.
Now, does that mean that Putin's a good guy? No.
No, not at all.
That means all that means is like we anticipated them being weaker.
Yep.
And
there's got to be an end to this at some point.
I think January 21st.
We'll see. I mean, Biden was also trying to forgive a bunch of debt. A bunch of this money. It was like $4 billion that we'd given him. Biden's trying to get that wiped off the books because all the money we're given so far is supposed to be paid back, which I doubt if we'll ever see a penny of it. But Biden's also trying to not only give Ukraine the ability to use these new missiles that we made, which is an escalation of the war. It seems like Biden's almost trying to get this thing going hotter and heavier for when Trump comes in. So, yeah, this doesn't seem like
so
a
he
good
can turn
time.
around and go, this is a big pile of dog crap. Here you go. Good luck.
Yep, exactly.
Now I'm not going to say Biden did this because I don't think Biden has the wherewithal to do it, but his
somebody in the military complex is.
Yes. All right, so Laken Riley's killer was found guilty. This is in Athens.
Yeah, this happened last Wednesday. This is when Laken was killed earlier in the year. She was out on the run and got killed by, I forget the guy's first name, but Jose Ibarra. Jose was, I forget which country down in South America he was from, but the worst part about this story is when he came across the border, he went to New York City. The government put him up in a hotel up in New York City and then flew him on a plane with taxpayer dollars down to Georgia. And then a couple weeks later, this happened in Athens. So that's kind of the background on his story. But yeah, he was, he passed ability, or he didn't do a jury trial, so he did a bench trial.
Bench trial, yeah.
Yeah, and the judge found him guilty last Wednesday and sentenced him to life in prison without opportunity for parole.
That was always going to be the outcome.
Yep, and but I didn't quite understand why he couldn't have been convicted of the death penalty. It sounded like the DA took that off early on. It said that that couldn't have happened. But he was actually found guilty of malice murder, 3 counts of felony murder, 1 count of kidnapping, 1 count of aggravated assault with intent to rape, 1 count of aggravated battery, kidnapping, and 1 count of hindering a 911 call. So he got a book thrown at him. I don't think any of those, not like all of them mattered because he was going to jail forever.
Yeah, I don't know. I assume he won't be unpopular when he gets to prison because there's plenty of Latin kings and all that stuff.
Yeah. It was heartbreaking to hear his mom spoke. I was driving up the road on Wednesday afternoon when she took to after the verdict was read, the family members got to come up and testify. And it was very, very heartbreaking. Listen to his family members and her friends talk about what kind of girl she was and just the loss that they've been suffering since her life was taken from her back in February.
She was a baby.
Yep.
Was she 20?
Yeah, I think she was. She was just, I think she was in a nursing program at Athens. And Yeah, I mean, it just lasted, when she was killed, this whole incident took 15 or 16 minutes. I mean, she fought for her life during this process. And yeah, it just a terrible, terrible thing that happened to her.
And the family that's left behind. Because it's unnatural for a parent to bury a child.
Yep.
And then for it to happen while she's trying to do the best things possible in her life and go into nursing and look, there's a pretty big washout rate with nursing programs, but you assume, you tell your kids when you send them off, be careful, look behind you, don't walk up to an ATM at night, essentially what we used to say, keep your head on a swivel. And 99% of the time, that works great. But this was a horrific act that this dude Jose has no remorse for it.
Yep. No, he's got none. Absolutely zero. And now we're going to pay for him to spend the rest of his life in jail. Along with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Colton Moore makes our show a little bit. He's a state senator up in Northwest Georgia. But he said he demanded Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr to file an emergency motion to intervene and demand a death penalty against Laken Riley's killer. I'm not sure how that would work. I don't think the Attorney General has any purview in that case. I think this is grandstanding again by Senator Moore.
I think it is also. Look, Chris Carr would love nothing more than to go out there and make this death penalty case and give himself the moniker.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about him later. Yeah, I mean, he would, but I don't think this is anything Chris Carr can do. I think this is probably Senator Moore wanting to run for higher office too at a certain point.
Colton Moore saying it's going to cost $2 million to keep him alive for the rest of his life. First of all, that's the wrong argument to make.
It's probably a low number, isn't it? I mean, good Lord.
Well, it's not just that. It costs so much more to execute somebody.
Unless you did it quickly and humanely.
No. If they said guilty, bailiff goes and pulls 9 mil out and pops him in the forehead. That's cheap as hell.
Yep.
That's not what happens. Is they have mandatory
appeals. And they sit in jail for 30 more years, and they have special wings for them and special places in the jail, and it costs a ton of money.
Yeah, overall, it costs, because the way we're set up, it costs much more to execute somebody than it does just to let them expire naturally. Plus, as far as this SOB is concerned, let somebody shiv them in general pop.
Yep.
Because if you go to death row, you're going to sit there for 30 years, and I won't say it's a damn resort, but I would take being on death row for 30 years if we're getting executed to going into general population at Smith State Prison.
Yeah, I assume Colton is running for some other office in 2026. That's one of my predictions for 2026, probably lieutenant governor. But anything like this, and look, Senator Moore's got his name out in the news quite a bit in the last couple of years. It's all about name recognition when you're running for some of these down-ticket statewide elections.
Like we said last week, this is the carousel.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Because we create a void at top because Kemp is going to term out. So that starts creating all the holes. But it's we talk sports probably more than we should. But it's the same thing when you start seeing college football coaches get fired. And you start seeing these voids, and it starts pulling. The carousel starts up. You start pulling from these other schools, and now they have vacancies. So it's the same thing. For us, it really is every 8 years because of the timing of the gubernatorial race. So look, Kemp was never going to have a serious challenger against him. I mean, I know there was another name on the ballot, but there was no serious challenge to Kemp. In a primary, it's just that I next to the name is so powerful.
Yeah, very true.
All right, so Trump's hush money, and I don't even like that term, trial postponed.
Yeah, this thing's done at this point, right? Judge Mershon, who oversaw the case or is overseeing this case, they granted Trump's lawyers the request to file a motion to dismiss the charges last week. So it sounds like they have until December 2nd to file their motion for dismissal also. And the DA has until December 9th. It sounds like the judge is going to throw this thing out. I think during his, I think it pained him, as you could see last week, to make this decision, but you can't lock a president up in a state court or in a state jail. That's settled like case law. So this case is going to be done. I think Manhattan wanted to postpone it until after Trump left office in 2029, but that's stupid too. I mean, geez, dismiss this thing, get it over with, and be done.
Yeah, Bragg did, is he said he may just postpone the case until. At that point, why?
I know.
No one was hurt in this case. There's no victim. They violated statute of limitations by changing misdemeanors into felonies. And even then, with these 29 misdemeanors, you can't find a victim.
Yep, exactly.
Everybody was satisfied in this. Everybody except for the government was satisfied in this. Everybody got paid. Everybody got their money. Alvin Bragg is just a turd. He just is. But even the most novice of attorneys know that this is a non-winner. You can't lock up an incoming president.
No, that's the whole thing. So this case is done. The case in Atlanta is done. I think everything's done at this point with Trump.
Plus, when he gets out of office in 29, he's going to be damn near 80 years old. You're gonna drag an 80-year-old man and talk about crimes that happened 15 years prior, that there was no victim. I think they're starting to catch on to the idea that this is not a winning strategy for them, especially with the points that they lost in this last election. I mean, you can see it across the boroughs in New York that Trump's picking up 5, 6, 7 points in these different boroughs that he didn't have in 2020 and didn't have in 2016.
I know.
So you're starting to see
the electorate's totally changing. Yeah, it's totally changing. It's amazing.
All right, so Kelly Loeffler maybe becoming the director of the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, she's going to get the Department of Agriculture, it seems like. This is kind of out of the blue, isn't it? I mean, she's a big Trump donor, Trump supporter. I think, originally I don't think she was MAGA. She was kind of outside of MAGA, but I think she would be considered MAGA now. But she's done a lot of good work in Georgia to help get the vote out, and she's donating to a lot of candidates. I mean, Kelly's done a lot of good stuff in Georgia, but it sounds like she's going to get the secretary at the Department of Agriculture. I don't know how much she knows about agriculture. I'm not sure that's important at this point, but as she was meeting with Trump last Friday, we record on Fridays, release on Mondays. I assume it's probably going to be announced before the show drops on Monday.
Some Fridays we record. Sometimes it's Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, but I bet this is going to come out before Monday. Now, what's going to be interesting is this kind of takes her out of running for any state level, efforts in 2026.
She got her butt handed to her.
Yeah, but she's got a bigger name now. I mean,
I know, but she's
just takes her out of the Senate race and the governor's race for 2026. I thought that was interesting. I know there's some people just because she's got so much money to put into the race. I know there's some people in Georgia that are really glad she's probably going to get this appointment and not be, in the middle of a statewide race.
On their side.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, look, she never connected with voters. She tried. She put on $500 blue jeans and a $300 hat with $400 boots to try to look like one of us. And she just was never able to connect. I thought she was a very poor pick on Kemp's part to begin with. because he started checking boxes. He wanted somebody with deep enough pockets to run 2 races in a row, and then he wanted a woman, and he did what Biden did with Harris. He painted himself in a corner.
But I think she's come back strong since then. I totally agree. I didn't agree with the pick when she was appointed to the Senate because I thought it was just checking boxes. But I think she's done a lot of good in Georgia since. And I think she's kind of righted, not all wrong since then, but I really think she's done a great job since then with just this whole mobilization of the vote campaign. She's donated money to candidates. Like she's really kind of gone headfirst into politics in Georgia, which is great.
Sometimes being a kingmaker is more powerful than wearing the crown.
That is true.
So the person that the candidates come to, that want their endorsement, want their money, mostly, but being that person, being a player, often is more powerful than wearing the crown yourself.
Yep.
Because she can continue to be a kingmaker well into her 80s. If she ran for governor right now, she's got 8 years, and then she's done. I don't know if she can win a statewide race. And again, when she came in, it wasn't fair to her. She was a complete novice when it comes to politics. She had no statewide organization, and Kemp's like, "Here, do it." So I don't know if it's a good pick or not. I don't know what her background is in agriculture. Georgia being a heavily agricultural state is probably come across the pick as a plus. I don't think she'll have any problem getting confirmed. Because honestly, I don't think people dislike her. Like I said, I know it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but it's getting voters to warm up to you and being unlikable are 2 different things. So when she was up in the Senate, and it's going to be a lot of the same senators she worked with briefly, they're gonna know her, and that tends to work itself out better than somebody who's just coming in cold.
Yeah, she definitely gets approved. I mean, there's no way the Senate was not. I mean, she's squeaky clean. There's no way the Senate's not going to approve her. The only one that I think could not get approved at this point is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I hope he actually doesn't get approved by the Senate because he's such a damn kook. But I think everybody else at this point, well, Pete Hegseth may not get. I mean, I think he's going to have a tough time getting through because there's just this rape allegation or sexual assault allegation is out there. But I think him and Robert Kennedy are the only ones at this point that may not get through.
And I'll take Pete over RFK.
Yeah, I want Pete to get through. I don't want RFK to get through. The MAGA crowd that loves RFK, they are totally discounting that he's one of the most liberal
we're going to get to that in just a minute.
Yeah, on the face of the earth.
All right. What the hell is wrong with Jaguar?
I missed this story, so you'll have to tell me about this one.
All right, so they put out this, I don't know if it was a commercial, and you're my age, so you remember all the weird Calvin Klein commercials from the 80s where you had no idea what the hell it was talking about?
Right.
Until the end, it's like, this fragrance by Calvin Klein. Or the Where's the Beef commercial that just had like the background in black and white with people pounding steel with sledgehammers and stuff like you have no idea what the hell it was about. That's this commercial. It's like a bunch of people in really weird outfits, like dudes wearing platform high heels, all in like, use the term Teletubby sort of outfits, where they're all wearing like monochromatic outfits. There was no car in the friggin' commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to sell me a Jag, you need to talk to me about the handling, the 0 to 60 speed, the power. That's this. If you want to sell me a car, you need to talk to me about a car. This served no purpose. Other than Jaguar has a new, I think it's a CEO, that goes up to before investors and stuff in a mesh see-through shirt and like sequined jacket to talk about how we're looking forward at Jaguar. I'm like, you need to look forward to selling some damn cars.
I know.
I don't care how far left you are. If you get made the CEO of Ford, You don't go out and crap on people who buy pickup trucks because that's 90% of your business. If you sell Jags, you need to understand that usually sell Jags to people who are closer to being like me and you than they are people who wear like a yellow outfit with what looks like a inner tube around it. Like you put kids in an inner tube that go in the pool. Like weird. Just weird.
You would think so, but not everybody gets that nowadays. It's I know there was a lot of talk on Twitter about this, or X. I always say Twitter. I think that's going to live with me forever. But yeah, Elon Musk had some jokes about it. Nigel Farage, who was the member of Parliament in Britain, he started picking on him. He said it was another Bud Light moment, talking about last year's boycott against Bud Light. Yeah, there's a lot of anti-Jaguar sentiment out there at the moment. It's kind of entertaining.
I'm not even anti-Jaguar because they do build beautiful cars. I remember the first time I heard a new Jag, and just the way that the engine purrs. I mean, Jags are fantastic vehicles. I'm just wondering, after you see the problems with Disney, after you see the problems with Bud Light, and the Brits are like, hold my tea.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand it. I don't know who they're reaching. I don't understand why, as a corporation, you would go after sub 1% of the population. And look, the Brits that I've spoken to are embarrassed as hell by this, because this is their brand. I mean, like, you're known for driving a Jag. James Bond at one point, he drove Aston Martins and stuff, but he also drove a Jag in a couple of movies. Like, that's the iconic British brands, Aston Martin and Jaguar. And they're just like, we'll just crap all over it. All right, this is a good time to remind you these are our opinions, not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories over thegeorgiavirtue.com. All right, Kenny, give us the meal.
It is the Attorney General Chris Carr of Georgia, and it's not because of anything he's necessarily done in his official capacity, even though I think we could go through and find all kind of stuff that we don't necessarily agree with Attorney General Carr on, but he actually, on, what is the official date here? Last Wednesday?
Yeah, I think it was
November 21st.
Yeah.
15 days after the election, said he was throwing his name in a hat to run for Georgia's governor in 2026. So this guy only gave 15 days. Look, this year has been horrible. We have been inundated with, guys running for president, or Kamala. We had Biden, Trump, then it was Harris, Trump. As bad as that campaign was, text messages everywhere, nothing but commercials online. And Chris couldn't wait until 2025 to announce he was running for governor in Georgia. I am just shocked that he would think now is a good time to announce he's running for governor in 2026. It's truly amazing. Now, granted, the primaries are only, 18 months out. They're probably in May of 2025. But still, why in the world would you announce you're running for governor 15 days after the presidential election? Like, the votes were just certified. Trump's not even in office yet.
I understand if that's your long-term goal, getting your core around you and say, okay, we're going to start meeting a couple times a month and we're going to try to refine our message, but you don't announce to the public. You don't go and you don't.
And everybody knew he was. Everybody knew he was running at the end of the day. I mean, everybody knew Chris Carr was going to run for governor, but there was no reason that he had to announce it at this point. He could put together his team. He could have been recruiting people at the county level to support him. All that kind of stuff. It's just building up your infrastructure, because everybody knew he was running anyway. But to announce an official bid in 2024, 15 days after the presidential election, it's just idiotic. I mean, just dumb. And look, the guy that's going to run for governor, and I think he's going to win, is Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. So there's like he's not doing anything to get ahead of Burt. Burt can wait another 9 months to announce he's running because he's got Trump support and he's got the MAGA base support, and that's what you're going to need in a Republican primary next year. Like the moderates don't win primaries. The MAGA base is going to win next year's primary.
Keep in mind, we keep truncating this. You don't qualify until 2026.
Yeah, like next March. March of 2026 is when the official qualifying is. So that's still 16 months away.
So Burt Jones could walk in at 5 minutes till 5.
Yeah, and he won't because the Georgia GOP convention next year is when everybody really gets spun up. So if you looked at when the Georgia GOP convention is in 2025, that looks like it is in June of 2025. So everybody's going to be announced at that point, right? Like if you're running for state candidate, you got to be at the GOP convention in June of 2025. But he could have waited until June of 2025 to go, and it's actually going to be in Dalton next year. So that's the date everybody's looking towards. You didn't have to do it right now.
And look, there's something called candidate fatigue, and this goes on both ways. People get tired of hearing your name, and the other is your candidate gets tired.
Yeah.
You know, you come out of this thing like it's a sprint, and then you realize that it's a double marathon.
Now, what I will say about, I totally agree. It's just too much. Now, what Carr is going to do is Carr is going to run as Governor Kemp's, I would assume, candidate next year. Because I don't think Governor Kemp and Burt Jones see eye to eye just because of the MAGA stuff. So I think Chris Carr will probably be, whether or not Governor Kemp endorses Carr or not, probably left up in the air. We'll have to see what happens there.
If Kemp runs for Senate, the worst thing he could possibly do.
Yeah, he won't if he runs for Senate. Yeah, I mean he won't do it if he runs for statewide office. But if Kemp stays out of it and doesn't run again, I think he would be Kemp's pick. And I think Carr will run on. He was a tough prosecutor in Georgia. He did like human trafficking and blah blah blah, and he worked with Kemp. And
he's not a tough prosecutor. He's never. Well, I mean,
I'm just saying that's what he's going to run on. So, and if it's Carr against Burt Jones, I think Burt Jones, again, I think he wins. But also, I think you're going to have Raffensperger in the middle of it, unless Raffensperger runs for Senate, which he could, and then we'll see. I mean, Raffensperger is the one that's sneaky, right? I don't think anybody thought he was going to win a re-election a couple of years ago, and he did. He beat Jody Heist handily in the Georgia primary, in the Republican primary. So maybe Raffensperger's got some left in the tank. I can't see Raffensperger going up against Burt Jones and Chris Carr, though. So maybe Raffensperger...
I can't see him going up against Kemp either.
Yeah, I don't think Kemp's... But see, I don't think Kemp runs for anything. I think Kemp's going to sit back now and wait for... So Kemp this week, the news about Kemp this week is he's chairman of the Republican Governors Association over the entire United States. So I still think at this point, Kemp is building up his name to run for president after Trump. And, I think that's what he's looking for. I don't think Kemp's running for Senate. I think Raffensperger does a Senate approach. I think Chris Carr and Burt Jones will duke it out for governor. Hell, maybe Raffensperger wins Senate. I don't know who else has that statewide sort of name out there that Raffensperger has. But then I think Kemp sits it out and runs for president in 4 years. I think that's the plan. I think that's what Kemp wants to do.
I don't know. I don't think he's got the nationwide chops for it. Now he is putting himself on national news as much as he can. I just don't know that he's got the chops for it.
Yeah, we'll see. And maybe it's going to be hard to beat a J.D. Vance in 4 years, probably too. After J.D. has that 4 years as being VP and being seen and all that kind of good stuff. I think that would be. I think that would be really, really hard to beat a J.D. Vance.
And he'll have 4 more years of age on him, which at his age is a good thing.
And then you've got Ron DeSantis down in Florida. That is, I think it would be tough for Kemp to beat DeSantis, honestly, in a nationwide Republican primary. But no, we'll see. I've seen crazier things happen, right?
Again, we don't know what the next 4 years is going to give us when it comes to Vance and all that stuff. But Vance is going to be very difficult to beat.
He will be. Yeah, unless there's no scandal, he'll be very difficult to beat.
So here's your note. Can we talk about what a terrible person RFK Jr. is?
Yeah, and look, I mean, Eric Erickson wrote a kind of an editorial this week about RFK. We should strive, I think, to have the best people and even the most moral people in office. I mean, this whole thing about a lot of people don't know who Robert F. Kennedy is, right? I mean, he's a climate activist. He supports really abortion up till any point. He's bragged about how many women he slept with. He drove his ex-wife to committing suicide because of all the number of affairs he had. And he's a Kennedy, right? I mean, can we just talk about that for a minute? Like how he has somehow become the craze of MAGA land just shows how shallow the MAGA movement is. For all these people to get on Robert F. Kennedy's side just because he's a vaccine denier and he's got all this other baggage, it just honestly it still goes towards there's really no MAGA beliefs out there besides MAGA. And look, I'm just ready for us to get back to people that are concerned about policy, especially the Republican Party. And they're concerned about, what it means to be a conservative Republican and not what it means to be just idolizing whoever's in power at that point in time. But it seems like we're going to continue down that path. Robert F. Kennedy's a terrible person. I hope he doesn't get confirmed. I mean, it'd be really, really bad for the U.S. if he's confirmed.
With Bobby, he never denied who he is. He's not. First of all, he's not a denier of vaccines. He's just saying that, parents should have a choice. As far as the affairs and all that stuff, man, that's just part of that. You marry into the Kennedy family, you got to expect some of that.
You don't have to expect it when you're married. I mean, is that
if you marry a Kennedy? I mean, it's.
I get it, but just because your last name means you get a free pass to sleep with. I
didn't say a free pass, but you understand what you're getting into.
I guess. I think all women think they're getting into a marriage that's hopefully between you and your husband, and you're not sharing with 70 or 80 other women during your marriage. I think he told his wife or in his book, he said he slept with 80 women in 1 year while he was married. That's
impressive.
That's 1 out of every 4 days.
That's damn near Wilt Chamberlain numbers there.
Yeah, that's a Wolf of Wall Street, right? You got to pump those numbers up. Those numbers are pumped up. Those are high numbers. But I hate that we're at this point where we agree with one thing that a particular person says, and now that person's the best thing since the sliced bread, and that's what my friends think now.
It's the carrot and the stick that Trump has brought out.
I know.
When you disagree with him, you're the most awful person that's ever walked the earth. When you agree with him, great guy. Always liked him.
Yep, exactly.
And people are kind of getting lost in this carrot and the stick things to where Kennedy endorsed Trump. Therefore, I don't know if it's quid pro quo per se. But
I think it is. Trump's a loyal guy. He likes people to help him, right?
Yep, this is a reward to him.
Yeah, and look, I get it. I help people that you're like me. I help people that help me. I look towards those people to. So it is that, but there's still a certain part of this that says the people that we want to be in front of us in elected positions or in appointed positions. I just think I should expect a little bit better because everybody's looking up at them. My kids look up at these people. They watch the news. Other young people around the U.S. are looking up to that. And it just doesn't look good when you have to explain to your kid, like, this guy's getting over Department of Health and Human Services, and he's he's got all these issues in his background. He's
past. A philanderer.
Yeah, 100%.
But so is Trump.
Yep. Yeah, I don't dispute that either.
Look, if you've got $100 billion, it would take a lot of discipline. And there's a joke going back to the 80s about him cheating on his wife. It's like, no, the prenup says I can right here. I think there's something with powerful arrangements like that.
Well, there's definitely something with being a man in power. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you see it all over the place. I mean, you see it in politics in Georgia. You see it at the national level. Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. It's just power.
Hillary married Bill because she needed a penis to get in the White House.
Yeah, it's just power. I mean, it really is.
And they had their one kid, which was, required. And as long as he didn't embarrass her, which is, always the rules I heard about the Kennedys was just don't embarrass me.
Yep.
And the press back in the 60s was a lot more accommodating to that than they were in the 90s and certainly are now. But I think there's something to that, and I wouldn't know. I've never been powerful enough to have that temptation.
Very true.
But I don't know, man. It'd be interesting to hear what Cheryl Hines has to say, which is Kennedy's wife now. She's an actress from Curb Your Enthusiasm and a bunch of other things. But she's been eerily quiet, and that just may be self-preservation when it comes to her career. Is not to talk about that stuff, or we're going to find out that after the inauguration they split up because she stayed quiet during the campaign, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Kenneth, do you have any closing thoughts?
Last week I I didn't fly up. I drove up. I drove to Charlotte and back on the same day to see Luke, my 19-year-old, who turns 20. I should be 20 by the time this is dropped. It's amazing. My first child is not a teenager any longer. He started a YAF chapter on his college campus, which is pretty good. It's the Young American Foundation, who was started. Their headquarters is the Ronald Reagan Ranch out in California. But he got a speaker in. They had this big speaking deal. He had about 150 people there, and it was pretty cool to see your son get up in front of people and introduce a speaker, introduce himself, and hear this person speak on, like what it takes to be a conservative. And he was a Catholic conservative, but he talked about Catholicism a little bit and just the whole conservative movement. But pretty cool to see your son kind of growing his wings and getting out on his own and doing all this stuff. So I think he's going to get a chance to go to the Reagan Ranch in April, which will be really cool. I've always wanted to go out there and see that spot. So good for him. He's doing a lot of good stuff. Yeah,
at his age, public speaking is not that easy.
Oh, he just got up and introduced himself and a speaker and good stuff. So
all that combines in your experience as he matures. All that experience of standing in front of an entire hall of people and speaking.
Oh, I know.
All that combines with that sort of experience. That's fantastic.
It's a good proud dad moment. It's cool.
Good. I guess he's heading home this week.
Yeah, he comes home Tuesday. He comes home tomorrow, I guess, as the show drops on Tuesday.
Home Tuesday. Back to school Sunday.
No, they are out until January 10th or something. So, yep.
Oh, nice.
I know.
Nice. Now you can go get in real trouble.
I know, exactly.
Big thanks to Eric Cumby, who is our editor, who takes our awful audio and turns into something you can listen to. Big thanks to Ken Poland, my partner in this endeavor. I'm Dave Roberts. If you like what you heard, please like and share us on all the socials and flick this on your friends. What's great on Thanksgiving dinner is when you sit down, everybody prays. Go ahead and hit play and play the podcast while everybody's trying to eat. But with that being said, we'll talk to you next week. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. Catch me howling at the moon.